G'day guys, well I've got 5 4x4 tips and techniques that I go through before I start a four-wheel drive track. Let's go through them. Okay, so this checklist that I'm about to tell you about, now this is not a written down checklist, but it's a checklist that I've got up here in the mind and I tick it off each and every time before I start a four-wheel drive track out there in the bush. And the first one out of those 5 starts at the front here where I get my tyre pressures down. Now always let your tyre pressures down, you know, they're absolutely key to going four-wheel driving. Now I won't go in a lot of detail now about the pressures that I run, but I'll put a link to another video up above here. Check that one out. Now I'll go into a lot more detail in that video where I talk about tyre pressures that I run and give you some ideas, you know, and some tyre pressures that you might want to think about in case you're a bit unsure. So it always starts here. I get my tyre pressures down on all 4 tyres, and then the second one out of the 5 is to get these hubs locked in. Now always lock my hubs in regardless, you know, when I'm going out there in the bush. Now I've changed the hubs on these. These aren't the standard hubs that came out on the Patrol from standard, but originally it didn't have a dial there like that. It just had sort of a nut in the middle there, and you'd have to use this spanner to lock my hubs in. But now I've gone to these aftermarket hubs and these work an absolute treat. So we'll go to the third one, and I reckon there might be a couple in here that maybe you've not thought about. So we'll see how you go with these, but we'll go to the third one and we'll check that one out. Okay, so number 3 is the isolation key for your winch. Now, while this key sits in my hand, I've got no power at all going to my winch. And it's a great idea because if your full drive, you know, parked out in the street, whatever, well, it just stops people being able to tamper your winch and doing all sorts of crazy stuff with it. So this key here is what goes in here, and then turn that on, switch that around there, and now I've got full power going to my winch. Now it's a great idea for yourself to do this before you head off. Now I know there's probably a few of you out there that have got these isolation keys or switches on your winches, so get that key in there, get full power going before you head off, because you don't want to get yourself into a nasty situation on a track where, you know, we've got to get a winch recovery going on, and you know, you might not be able to get out of your full drive to go and get your key and then, you know, get your winch all activated. So you might have to yell out to one of your mates, you know, and then you've got to explain to him where it is, and he might not even know what he's looking for. So get that key in there, get all your power going to your winch before you head off, and then you're good to go. Righto, so the last 2, they start right in here before we head off. And number 4 is to engage transfer case, whether it be high range, low range, whatever it is, whatever track you've got ahead of you there. And look, I've got a stick down there, but you might have a, you know, electronic transfer case with a dial. Well, exactly the same. Just make sure you engage that before you head off. And then the 5th and last one that I certainly go through, and that's UHF radio communications. Whatever channel that you've designated, particularly if you've got a convoy, make sure everyone knows what that channel is. And then before you head off, just drop in with each of those vehicles that are behind you there, and just make sure that they all respond back, and then that way you know they're all on channel and you're going to have good, clear communications for the trip that you're about to go on. Well, there you go guys, that's the 5 tips that I check off on my four-wheel drive before I start out on the four-wheel drive tracks. So until then, I look forward to seeing you guys out in the bush someday.